Have you ever met someone who just seems to glide through life? They always seem to be at the right place at the right time. Meanwhile, someone else making a lot more effort keeps hitting brick walls. Carl Jung noticed this too, and after 40 years of studying people, he came up with a principle that's both simple and profound. Act as if everything always works out for you. If you think this sounds like some cheesy, positive thinking mantra, then I can assure you that Jung wasn't interested in any wishful thinking. What he saw was a psychological law. The unconscious assumptions we live by that quietly sculpt the world we experience. It wasn't just theory either. Here's an example from two of his patients with identical problems. One believed life was fundamentally supportive. The other assumed life was hostile. Same external reality, but their lives unfolded in totally different directions. Why? Because our psyche acts like a magnet. Expect opposition, and you unconsciously scan for threats. You're bracing for failure, so you miss opportunities that are staring you in the face. Expect support, and you notice solutions. You bump into the right person. You see paths forward you'd normally ignore. This is what Jung meant by acting as if. You're not pretending, you're stepping into a different stance toward existence itself. And here's the interesting bit. When you make that shift, reality itself often seems to shift too. He called it participation mystique. Your psyche doesn't just interpret the world, it participates in creating it. Now, there is a paradox here, and it's worth addressing. Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, is very careful about avoiding techniques. Why? Because the moment you reach for a technique, you're back in your head, engaging the very mind that creates most of your problems. And when you use an idea like everything will work out, you're also leaning into the future, which distracts you from the only thing that's real, this moment, right now. Presence doesn't need life to work out, because when you're present, thoughts of what happens in the future are nothing more than playful adventures. So why am I talking about Jung's idea at all? Because despite the simplicity of presence, few of us are trained in the art of being instead of doing. Whilst Jung's solution is still doing, it's at least encouraging you to monitor your thoughts, witness the results, and start to believe that good, weird stuff does happen, and that maybe there is something to this present moment gig after all. I know this works because long before I picked up Eckhart's book, I was aware of the benefits of living an optimistic life. I'd already tasted what Jung was talking about. I'd noticed that when I assumed life was on my side, synchronicities happened, the right people appeared, strange coincidences lined up. I didn't have the language for it back then, but later when I read Jung's principle, I realized that I was on the same page. And then reading Eckhart was like the final click, because it explained why optimism had worked for me, but also why optimism is only a halfway house to something much deeper. Jung went further than just things will be okay. He saw that acting as if life supports you unlocks parts of yourself you didn't even know were there. The part of you that's been responsible for sabotage instead starts helping. Anger becomes energy. Fear turns into intuition. Forgotten talents rise to the surface. It's not magic, it's the psyche reorganizing itself around a different assumption. So once your experiences have convinced you that your new optimistic outlook on life is bearing fruit. This new direction starts to become a natural part of who you are. When you know completely that whatever decision you make will be the right one because that's how your life rolls, then making decisions will no longer be something you fear, but will become something you welcome. So where does this leave us? On one hand, Tolle is right. Chasing the future is a trap, and techniques can become distractions. On the other hand, Jung's principle offers a very human doorway towards experiencing the benefits of presence. But once you've witnessed how changing your thoughts can change your experiences, you'll be naturally drawn to living a more present life. My suggestion is, why not try it as an experiment? For 1 week, act as if life is conspiring for you, not against you. Don't force it, don't fake it. Just carry yourself with that assumption and see what happens. Notice how your perception changes. Notice how opportunities seem to appear. At worst, you'll irritate a few pessimists. At best, you'll discover what Jung and Tolle were both pointing toward. That when you shift your stance toward life, life shifts its stance toward you. And eventually you realize there's no as if at all. It was always working out right here in the now.